attitude. I think everything, and I'm not even sure if this would classify as a soft skill, but your attitude. Everything comes down to attitude. Are you going to get up at 4:30 and say, this is going to be the best day I've ever lived? Or are you going to get up and say, oh, it's raining outside, I'm miserable, life's not good, I'm not making enough money? Negativity breeds negativity. If you're positive and you're positive every day, life is so much better.
Hey, Starborn community. Today I bring on professional in communications, founder of Ask Consulting, soft skills and consulting firm, and author of Soft Skills in the Age of AI. How are you, Andrew?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Good.
So tell us a little bit of your background. Who are you? What inspired you in soft skills?
Yeah, sure. So I own a company, as you mentioned, Ask Us Consulting, and we're based out of Vancouver, BC, but we started actually in the UK 25 years ago.
Awesome.
25 years ago.
That's a lot of time.
Sold that business, moved to China, created it again. But what I've noticed everywhere around the world, I've had a chance to train. I've visited more than 50 countries. I've had a chance to train and develop people in 22.
Wow.
So what I've found training thousands of people, tens of thousands of people over the world, is that we have a challenge with soft skills.
Yeah.
So what I mean by soft skills are people aren't effective at communicating. They lack things like sales skills, empathy, creativity and innovation. And these are all things that we can improve if we work on them. Particularly important in the age of AI.
Yeah. After all the places that you have been working, what would you say is the main problem that people have in soft skills and communication?
Definitely communication. Definitely
as itself.
Definitely communication. Inability to write emails. So I'll give you an example. I work as a professor, and my students will often write me, and they'll write me notes. So I had one the other day, and it said, "Good morning, professor."
Good morning.
Good, G-U-D.
Yeah, good morning.
I, lowercase I, small I, I am not able to make it to class. And I thought, okay, maybe the good morning thing was a mistake the first time. And then right underneath it said, have a good day. Okay. You know? So it's emails. Yeah. It's using the phone. It's a lot of things.
Yeah, it's the daily communication, you would say. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. So how do you think communication and soft skills can be doing an edge today in e-commerce, fashion brands, or even personal brands or any type of brand? Like, what's the big difference that communication is bringing to the game?
It's how you get the message.
Nowadays, like we have AI and a ton of things that could be done by itself. What's the main point that communication is solving it, you know?
Okay. I think people will always want to deal with people. So AI is fabulous, and I'm a big fan of AI. I use it constantly. But it lacks certain things. It lacks empathy. It lacks understanding of why are you buying that brand? What is it that you feel about it? What is the relationship with that brand or that particular item? So like I said, it comes down to communication. It comes down to soft skills, but it also comes down to these subtle things that AI can't do, like how to build rapport, how to build relationships, how to, for me, I teach a lot of people how to sell. And one of the things I say is that people always talk about business to business sales. And I say, no, eye to eye, individual to individual. It's all about people. And when you realize everything is about people and not technology, that's when you can get ahead. You got to use technology.
Yeah. So you would say you're a fan of this statement that says people buy to people.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
People buy from people.
People buy from people. Yeah. That's also true. So what would you say the big difference, not only in communication, but also in sales, are in human skills? What I mean, like, what's the big difference of a computer doing cold calling versus a person doing cold calling? I don't know if you get me.
I got you. I think now, I don't know what it's going to be like in 5 years.
Yeah.
No one knows what it's going to be like in 5 years. But AI now is not advanced enough. So whenever I get an AI call or sales call, I know it's AI. I know it's AI, even if it's an automated voice, because of the lags. You ask it a question and then there's like a delay of 5 seconds and then it speaks, Yeah. So the human touch is critical. So you can use AI, and I encourage it to line up meetings.
Yeah, sure.
But a human needs to be in there building relationships.
Yeah, I stand up for the same thing also because there are sort of things, as you say, empathy. Yeah. Empathy is, I would say, is the best seller. A smile and empathy is the best seller. When you understand what's the problem in the other side, you will be able to sell faster and properly, let's say. But getting more in depth of sales specific, what would you say is the most relevant skill that you need to develop in soft skills for do a better or good sales?
Gotta listen. People don't listen. So there's a famous book. I don't know if you've come across it. It's by a guy called Dan Pink, and it's called To Sell is Human. And in that book, he talks about who is the best salesperson. Is it the introvert? Is it the extrovert? And he comes up with the conclusion that the introvert is maybe too shy to have a conversation.
Okay.
The extrovert is so busy talking about themselves.
You want to do the next punchline.
They're not listening to what you're saying.
Obviously, yeah.
So Pink says the ambivert is the person who can do both. So they're listening to you, but you got to listen. What does the customer want? I gave this story earlier as a customer pitch, a potential client pitched me on a service. And they never asked me what I want the service for. So they gave me this wonderful bill, but they didn't ask me, what do you need? What exactly do you need? They just gave me a standard bill. Yeah. Well, there's no relationship there. I don't want to work with these people. I want to work with someone that wants to understand my business.
Understand your problem. Yeah.
Understand my business.
Yeah.
Understand what I want.
Yeah. Yeah. So since you said that listening is a big part of sales, right? How would you say that communication and listening is also part of communication in a matter of in communication, you are always trying to persuade, to make someone to think as you want, how the listening thing enters and match with this idea.
So it's about relationships, right?
Yeah.
So sales is about genuinely listening, genuinely caring, asking the right questions, replying with the right answers. So you go buy a phone here in Vancouver. You walk into the shop. What does the guy do? He says, "You're looking for a phone." "Oh, those are the most expensive ones," points you in that direction. Never asks you, what do you use the phone for? "Oh, you use it only for texting." Well, maybe you just need that phone.
Okay.
And that guy will sell 50 of the $500 phones as opposed to the guy who's just not listening to you and points you in that direction who sells one expensive one per day. The other guy's making more money.
So you would say it's not about persuade about what's the correct or the best deal of you. It's about persuade what's the best deal for the other person.
Yeah, it's about listening to what they want. They'll come back to you. I've done this so many times with my own clients. I check in with them. I say, "Did you like the training?" So I run training courses. Yeah. "Did you like that training course? What was it you liked about it?" If they come back at me and say, "Well, we did it 2 months ago. I'm not seeing the results I expected." I'll say, "Okay, are you available next Tuesday or next Thursday?" I'll look at my calendar. I'll hop in my car. And it doesn't matter if they're 500 miles away. I'll go to them and I'll fix the issue. Yeah, because I want every client happy.
So about that, you would say mouth-to-mouth marketing and sales is even bigger than digital marketing. It's even bigger than ads. It's even bigger. Because let me tell you about my point of view. I think yeah. Because the same thing you said, people buy from people. So if a person said to someone, "You know what, this service is extremely good," well, I'm a little bit like a step forward to go into that deal,
Definitely word of mouth, especially as it becomes more saturated now. So people are switched on to the idea that most reviews are fake. They want to hear from people. So if I'm looking for a provider of something, I'll ask someone. I'll say, "Hey, have you worked with that person? Tell me about them." I don't trust a bunch of reviews on Google that I know are possibly fake. Do you know what I mean? I want to know from people.
I see.
What is your experience? You know, people buy from people, and that's all we are, right? We're a network of conversations, a network. We buy from people we trust.
And about going a little bit backwards to your background, you have been in this industry for 25 years. What's the most important thing that kept you in this market active?
I love it.
Okay.
I love changing. I love when someone writes me and they say, "I took your sales course. I'm now triple what I was making last year."
That's awesome.
Or, "We had your creating legendary customer service," I call it. "We have your course at our resort and now our sales are up, our satisfaction is up, our satisfaction scores are up." You know what I mean? It's making change.
Yeah.
And that's why I teach. A lot of people say to me, "Well, why do you teach?" There's not a lot of money in teaching. It's the satisfaction. I teach entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So I got people, they're leaving my class. They're going and setting up businesses. So you're changing people's lives and it feels great.
That's an important thing too. Like, you are an entrepreneur and you're teaching about entrepreneurship. There's professors that are not entrepreneurs and they're teaching about entrepreneurship.
That's the difference between the book and reality.
Yeah.
So I've read a lot.
The doer and the thinker, right? Yeah.
So we work with a couple of textbooks.
Yeah.
And I've made this comment a few times, and I don't mean to upset anybody that I work with, but I've said, I can guarantee you the guys who wrote this textbook have never run a business before because they're just talking in such a generic way. They're not talking about the fear of losing a contract. I remember sitting in the UK, lying in bed. I was 32, 33 years old. I thought I was having a heart attack.
Really recently, I would say, eh? 33 years old.
Not bad. I like it. But I was sitting there and I was thinking, do I call 911 or what do I do here? Because I had to pay a huge amount of salary and I was owed so much money by so many people. Now, fortunately, what I've discovered in life is things always work themselves out eventually, right? That morning when I was panicking, into the door popped the check, from the mailman, the post into the door popped the check.
What a wonderful
that allowed
scene,
me to pay everybody the next day. But I was sitting in bed sweating. They don't have those experiences.
Yeah.
They have textbook experiences, and it's not reality. I'd love to see all entrepreneurship courses taught by people who have run businesses. And I'm not in any way, the theory is really great, but you got to have the experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can I teach you? Okay, here's a book about riding a bicycle.
Yeah, it's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Until you get on the bike,
you won't know what
nothing in the book is relevant, right?
Yeah, that's true. So you said you love this market and you love what you do, and that's why you remain like a lot of time in this. But what skill kept you in the game, active in the game, winning customers, bringing back customers?
Okay, for bringing back customers, it's always checking in with them. It's a personal relationship.
Okay.
Too many people view business as one and done. I've sold you something, that's it. That's the end of the relationship. For me, it's the beginning of the relationship. In a weird way, we talk about...
I like that.
We talk about...
When you sell me, it's the beginning of the relation. That's good.
We talk about always be closing, right? They always say always be closing.
Yeah.
I say always be opening, always be starting to build a new relationship. So if I sell you something, and it's self-serving too. If I check in with you and I say, did you enjoy that course? If the answer is no, I come and correct it for you. And I don't worry about whatever it costs me, whatever time, I correct it. 9 out of 10 times they say, yeah, I did. We loved it. Oh, what do you do with time management? What do you do with, and I remind them again, and then I help them identify another challenge, and then I get another sale.
So they're kind of like upselling their own, like by themselves. That's great. That's great.
By checking in and by building relationships, you sell so much more.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. So what skill kept you in this game for that long?
Well, my courses, the ones I teach anyway, my courses are all about presentation skills, public speaking, enthusiasm, energy, and fun. So I try and take topics that can be bland and dull and make them interesting. I call it edutainment. You've heard that before, I'm sure, but I want my classes and I want my courses and workshops, keynote speeches to be, first of all, funny, that's memorable.
Yeah.
I want people to walk away and remember me 3-4 months from now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So last week I spoke at the Institute for Performance and Management in Toronto, Canada.
Yeah.
And someone came up to me and they said, that was great, that was fabulous, whatever. But usually that happens, but there's no follow-up after that. But I got home and I looked on LinkedIn, and there was several this was my takeaway. This was my takeaway. This is what I learned. So you're making a difference. And I think when you're making a difference, that keeps you in the game. And one last thing, sorry.
Let's do it.
One last thing. You don't want to say, wow, I'm good at this. I don't want to learn anymore. So I've made thousands of presentations all over the planet, yet I still want to get better.
Humble.
So I ask people, how can I get better? I'll ask you when we leave here, hey, how'd that podcast go? What can I do better? Because I always want to learn. I ask my students, and I bet you there's not a teacher or a professor that does this. I say, how can I be a more effective and better teacher? Now, I'm dealing with students mostly from international places where there's like a power distance, so they feel very uncomfortable telling me this, but eventually I get feedback from them and I enact it. If they say this class was too long, you should maybe take that out. I'm learning. I want to get better. The Japanese call it kaizen, continuous improvement.
Yeah.
I think I'm good at what I do, but I want to be the best.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No, definitely it's not. So, you're saying that basically what keep you in this is kind of like a humility, that you always, humility of saying, I'm good, but I want to be better.
Yeah.
But now I'm just good because I know tomorrow I can be better.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of being better every day on what you love and what you do. Do you think it's part of that, the real skill that kept you in this game?
Sure.
Like always trying to
how
improve.
can I evolve these courses so that they're not just another course?
I see.
How can I evolve this class so it's not just another class?
Yeah, there's a lovely statement that I love. I love this statement. It's basically, people may forget your face, how you were dressed, what did you say, but they will never forget what you make them feel.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's surprising that, let's say a professor in this case is always trying to do memorable classes, because there are professors that just came into class, they do a whole speech, there's the presentation, ABC, away.
They read off the slides.
There you go.
They read off the slides, right?
And that's a bad communication skill.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of taking a lot of instructors, professors, etc., and putting them on soft skills courses, showing them how to communicate, showing them how to be better presenters, showing them how to engage more, because that's critical. How can I learn or be excited about learning if the person who's teaching me is not excited about it?
That's true. Yeah. That's true. And that's part a little bit of connecting and being like empathic with the other person. Yeah. What's your best advice for young entrepreneurs in terms of communication, soft skills, or just entrepreneurship? Like, what would you say is something that they need to do? Like, it's not negotiable. They need to do.
I've got a long list. Let me give you one or two. They need to focus on the long term and not the short term. So I got people in my classes, they'll say to me, I want to start a podcast. They'll do one podcast, they don't have 1 million followers, and then they say, that's it, I've quit the podcast business. Stick to it. Yeah. Same with whatever you're doing. So let's say you're selling these coffee cups, for lack of a better example. Yeah. You're selling these coffee cups. Yeah. You go out day 1, nobody buys them. Day 2, nobody buys them. Day 3, maybe you sell 1. Day 4, it doesn't just happen all at once. Yeah. But I think even as a society, we're so impatient. We're so used to everything being instant. I look on my phone, I get what I want. I'm hungry, Uber Eats. We're just used to everything so quick that nobody wants to put in the time.
Even the engagement rate, like for seeing a video is 3 seconds now, and it used to be 12 seconds that you can have maximum concentrating at something. Nowadays,
I do it myself.
It's just 3 seconds. Me too.
I do it myself.
It's crazy.
So I'm on my phone the other day, and I see there's an article that I wanted to read. It said it's going to take you 7 minutes to read this article. I was like, oh no, I'm too important. I don't have 7 minutes to read this article because I'm used to getting everything in 30-second sound bites.
That's insane. So you would say basically just stick in the long term. And what would be the second advice?
Okay, so I have a long-term picture. Do something that you love and forget about the money. I know that and I'm the first to say money's important, but I also realize that you got to love what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you love what you're doing, money becomes a byproduct. If you love what you're doing, the money will follow you. If you're a great guitar player and you're doing lessons, well, you can charge more for your lessons. The money will follow you because you got passion. People will pay for that. You're a trainer developing people. People will pay for that if you're good. Keynote speaker, if you're good, they'll pay for it. Yeah. So in other words, money will follow. It's when you're chasing money for the sake of money that you make mistakes. You forget about your customers. You don't listen to them. Money will always follow you if you are good at what you do.
That's great. And what would you say is the soft skill, the most important soft skill for make brands and, let's say, products or goods feel real nowadays that we have all bunch of AIs things, etc.? What's that thing that will will keep you differentiated from other?
So I've been asked to talk a lot recently about storytelling. So I think all brands should have a story. So if you look at my own brand, I tell the story of how we started in the UK because I realized that customer service wasn't very good in the UK. So we started in the UK, and I realized that you need a story. So my story is my life story. Whenever I start a keynote and people, if it's about soft skills, I talk about starting as a chef in Vancouver, deciding to go to Dublin, going to Ireland, working in this really cool pub in Ireland where all the famous like rock stars of Ireland and
Wow.
people came in to drink, and then getting a job with Guinness, and then winding up in Italy with Guinness, and then, living in the UK, setting up this business, growing it into a massive business, selling it to the Middle East. My biggest client was in the Middle East. Then I'm working in the Middle East. And then all of a sudden I decided I'd come back to the UK, did an MBA, and then went to China and spent, my story becomes the story, my story becomes the story of the brand, of my own brand.
I see.
So to answer your question though, I think that all products need a really good story. Like I want to buy tomatoes, not just tomatoes on a shelf. I want to buy the tomatoes that are grown on the side of a hill in Tuscany, and grandma goes out in the morning to water them, and she often picks the top ones. And, I want some kind of a story. And I think brands, when they learn to communicate their story properly, become effective brands.
That's awesome. And what are top 2 things that you learned in China? Running business?
Well, it's interesting because that's a fast-moving society. So, you'd meet with people here. When I want to meet with someone in Vancouver, they'll say to me, "I can see you in 2 weeks. Let me check my calendar." In China, you'll call someone and they'll say, "I don't have any time today, but let's do dinner tonight." Or can we meet at 11 tonight?
Tonight is crazy.
And it's like that. And it used to be so stressful to adjust at first. When I first got there, and people would say to me, because my level of Mandarin at the time was very low, it's a little bit better now, but I wouldn't understand the conversations. And then they'd say, "Well, don't forget the meeting tonight," and I'd be like packed up and ready to go home. And they'd be like, "Well, don't forget the dinner tonight. We're having dinner with these guys, and then we're going to do this." And it was just nonstop.
They're nonstop.
I don't know what it's like now.
Okay.
Because I haven't been back since 2020. I left when COVID started.
Okay.
But that culture was so fast moving, and there was no such thing as a work-life balance. Like the people loved what they were doing, and it was growing so fast at the time, the GDP and everything, that everything was possible. So everyone was trying to grab a piece of the action.
I see.
And it was a fun time to be there.
I see. So you talk about COVID. What happened to your business in COVID? How did you survive that?
Oh, we didn't. I mean, my business, when it was based in China, I had so many bookings for 2020, and then all those bookings were face-to-face training, so they all disappeared.
Wow.
So I first hopped on a plane and went to the UK to see my daughter. And in the UK lockdown, it was really kind of funny because I went to my ex-wife's house. Now, I get along with her reasonably well, but I got caught in lockdown.
I didn't want to put you in that spot. I'm sorry.
I got caught in the lockdown and spent 6 months living with my ex-wife because you couldn't go to a hotel, you couldn't get a plane, you couldn't get a train. So I lived in my former house in a little village in Wales. I won't say a prisoner because we got on reasonably well, but you could feel the tension sometimes.
Yeah.
So I used to hide in the conservatory and read. It was great for studying and reading and catching up on things. But I came back to Vancouver because I thought, do you want to go back to China? Because they were still under heavy lockdowns and everything. And
Canada, it was rooted in China. So
Canada was less, the rules were less strict. And I thought, I haven't been to Vancouver in a long time. Let's go. So I came back. I knew at the time I couldn't set up a training business again. I thought, what are you going to do? So when I was living in China, I studied Chinese entrepreneurship, got a doctorate in that because I had a ton of time to do these things on the side because I put aside a lot of time to do it. It was something I wanted. I wanted to do it. Yeah. I wanted to do it. Yeah. So I challenged myself to do that. And then, like I said, I felt like I was done in China, but there's a part of me that keeps thinking, well, maybe I'm not done in China. Maybe I'll go back there.
Wow.
Don't know when.
Yeah.
Don't know when, but I missed that. One more story. Sorry.
No, let's do it. I love this. We need this.
Okay. Well, I got plenty of stories and we'll be here all night. One more story. I'm going to get my shoes done in China. Like the heel came off one of my shoes. There's a guy on the side of the road, does it for you instantly. Like while you wait, we'll put a new sole on, glue it, do it properly, right? I went here to the guy who does the shoes. He said, come back in a week. Come back in a week. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you begin to miss, although I like elements of the slower lifestyle, and there's people here that probably think it's a very fast lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I miss that go, go, go hustle, that everybody's hustling and doing things. And I went to Vietnam for a few months before. I was going to move or open an office in Vietnam. And I went there in 2019, again, before COVID They had a break, and we were going to move and set up an office there. And the Vietnamese people, from my observations anyway, were even more go and entrepreneurial than the Chinese. The Chinese had maybe, the economy had boomed for so many years that maybe people were less willing to do certain jobs now, and things were a little bit more expensive, and there was a little less of a hustle going on. Maybe that was my feeling anyway. But Vietnam was electric. It was like just go 24/7. Like everybody was hustling and on the move, and I just love that.
Yeah,
it's the entrepreneur in me. I love it. I love this. Anything is possible. Anything can be done. If you have a dream, a goal, an idea, you can do it. You can make it happen. Right?
That's great. Yeah, that's great. I love that. So after obviously the COVID and whatever, and you came here, etc., how did you, let's say, you put yourself back and put the work down for still having a successful business?
So it was interesting because I came back here and I didn't really know anybody here, and it was very difficult to meet with people because of COVID, right? Yeah. But I had come back here to get my wife her PR card, which is a permanent residence for Canada. And we'd spent 2 years in Vancouver, we're not really doing much. I was doing a little bit of training and just relaxing. And, so we spent 2 years here. And I'd made some contacts, and I did some guest talks at BCIT and some of the other schools around town.
That's good. Yeah.
I called up the guy who was still at BCIT, and I said, hey, listen, I teach entrepreneurship. I've taught it in China. I've run my own businesses. You may remember me. I gave a talk. He said, of course I remember you. So he said to me, listen, there's a shortage of people that are willing to go into these classes where you got to stand behind the glass, and everyone had masks on, and there was like 7 people in the whole class spaced out. So I got that job. And then another school that's local here called Ascenda, I met them at some event, and they said, oh, come and teach entrepreneurship at our school. So I then did that. And then UCW had an entrepreneurship position open up, and I grabbed that. So
that's great.
And that's how you build on things, right?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Was like a little bit like grow from zero, basically.
It was. And now the training business, even in Vancouver, we've been doing some work with Microsoft here in town.
It's awesome.
Chartered professional accountants. I've done a lot of work with them. So it's growing here, and I've got some international gigs coming up. So
that's great.
We're back on fire,
What about mindset? What about mindset? What about mindset in all these tough times for entrepreneurships? And what about mindset in, let's say, communication job, let's say? Like what's an important thing in your, would you say like it's a good core value that you had and that still remain in you that brings you to this point?
To keep positive, you mean? To keep things going?
I think to keep going. Maybe not always we are positive, right? Not always we'll be like, oh, it's a great day. Sometimes it's not, right? And it's part of it. I love hard days too, They're also because of something.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in ritual. So I have a ritual that I keep every day. So, and you'll hear this from other entrepreneurs, but this is how I do my day. It's my own system.
Yeah.
I get up every day, 4:30 or 5. And I just find that now, maybe it's a little bit older, I find that I just bounce out of bed and I'm happy. And the mindset is always, it's going to be a great day. I go to the coffee machine, I pour 2, because you need to at 4:30 in the morning.
I love that.
I do 2 double espressos, and then I'm wired. And then I do my emails, and I plot the day. What am I going to do today? What am I going to achieve? Who am I going to impact? What's going to happen?
I like that. Who I'm going to impact. Yeah. That's good.
And I don't necessarily know who I'm going to bump into.
Yeah.
But who am I going to talk to? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
How can I make a difference? Yeah.
I see.
And I mean that sincerely, because it makes me feel good. It's self-serving.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people say, well, I want to look after people, and I actually genuinely enjoy it, and it makes me feel good.
That's awesome.
So it's self-serving, but if it helps others and it helps me,
people
great.
feel genuinely act. Yeah. So that's good.
So I have this routine, and then 6 o'clock, I go down to our gym in the house. So I go down to the gym.
Yeah.
And I do not a intense workout. I listen to nice music, and I do a nice light workout, but every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'll do some walking at a slightly elevated speed, a little bit of an incline. I'll lift some light weights. Nothing intense anymore. Not like when I was younger.
Yeah.
I don't feel the need anymore.
Yeah.
But it keeps me focused, and it provides me with this phenomenal energy. That's great. All day I feel energetic.
That's
great. What I mean? All day. Now, if you meet me around 11 o'clock at night, I'm starting to run out of gas.
Yeah, obviously.
But all day I'm high energy. So people always say that you're high energy. I don't. It's just me. So I don't know.
Do you think high energy open doors?
Yeah, of course it does. Of course it does. And another
More than a diploma, maybe more than certificate, more than.
Well, diploma never opens the door. You open the door.
Great.
So, sure. I mean, when I got my MBA, MBAs were somewhat of a rare, not a rarity. They weren't at all, actually, but they weren't as common as they are today.
Yeah.
So now, the MBA is what the bachelor's was 20 years ago. You know what I mean? So they're kind of a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
It's how you use that. So I believe people, if they're getting it in the corporate world, or they're going to run family business or whatever, should definitely do this. But it's what you do with it. You know what I mean? If your goal is, I want a GPA of whatever, but you're not thinking all the time, how am I going to use these skills?
Yeah.
And thinking afterwards, how am I going to use? The other thing is people stop learning. So you asked me again back to the routine or the rituals. I put aside an hour a day for reading, and it's a non-negotiable. I put it into the calendar. I put everything into my calendar and then I knock them off. I'll just delete them once they're done.
That's doing.
And I love seeing the zero at the end. 11 o'clock at night, there's nothing there. Beginning of the day, there's like 50 items.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. But I have me time where I'll sit down and I'll say, okay, it's me time now. I'm going to read, or I'm going to try and I've struggled with this one, is putting the device away. So even when I'm watching a hockey game or a sporting football game, whatever, I'm still on the damn computer, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I've got to figure out a way to do that. But I think it goes back to what we said earlier. If you love what you're doing and you're enjoying it and you're making some type of impact, no matter what it is, then you're not working. I don't view anything that I do as work. Some of my colleagues in the teaching game, I think they view it as a job. I view it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to impact people. And I learn a lot from my own students. They're international students. I learn about their countries, their culture, their food. I sit and eat with them. I insist on them all calling me by my name, which culturally is a little bit challenging for some of them.
Yeah.
But if you love what you're doing, like I said, you're not working. You're just having fun all the time.
I see. And what about your family? Like, I mean, your daughter, your wife, etc. Like, how do you make time to not only be an entrepreneur, also a father, also a husband?
Good question.
Yeah.
That's part of my routine or rituals. Is I phone my daughter. She says too much, but I phone her every morning. When I'm up, there's a time difference. She's in the UK. So usually it's the first thing I do. I have that double espresso that I mentioned.
Yeah.
And then I get on the phone and I call her. What's your
awesome.
day like? Her day's almost winding down. She's at medical school. Her day's winding down. What did you learn today? What did you do? We spend 10 or 15 minutes, and it's usually her that pulls the plug on the conversation and says, I got things to do now.
Yeah.
And then before she goes to bed, which is 2 o'clock our time, 10 o'clock their time, 2, maybe 3, I check in again. We talk for another 15 minutes.
Wow.
My wife.
You stay awake until that time? Or
No, 2 in the afternoon.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
10 their time. My wife, I practice my creating legendary customer service on her. So, and I've told her this, but I view her as a customer. Couple of reasons.
Okay.
One, I don't want her
That's awesome.
I don't want her going to the competition.
Yeah.
There's other people out there she can go to.
Yeah.
So I want to make this customer happy. Yeah. I occasionally will put in my calendar, and I'll put in my calendar, like buy some flowers or, book a table, surprise her, So she knows that I love doing what I'm doing. We still have lots of time together in the evenings, and we talk, and she's busy. She has her own job. She's quite a busy person. But we find time for each other. And I try and make it so we have moments of spontaneity, if you will, where there'll be some kind of like, I'll show up with some flowers at her office, and she still loves it. And there's like a sparkle in her eye, and
That's great.
And we've been married for 15 years, and we're she might say something different, but we seem really happy.
That's good. That's good. And what about like you say like she's pretty busy and etc. But how important is your wife and how let's say her actions reflect on your daily work? I mean, like not only being a supportive person, like what's that she made that differentiate you every day on going positive, happy, impacting, and doing the work, put the work down, basically.
Supporting, just being supportive. like, asking me, how was your day? What's going on? What are you doing? What did you do today?
Okay.
And I ask her the same, and we're very supportive of each other. If I told her today, she said, dude, are we having dinner together? I said, no, I'm doing a podcast, but I'll be home later.
I'm sorry,
Yeah. I'll be home later. And she said, oh, that's great. Let me know how the podcast goes. She'll be at home. She'll be totally happy to watch. She's from China. She loves watching.
That's great.
She loves watching her Chinese drama
Okay.
shows on her phone. So she's more than happy if I'm not around. But there's like a cutoff point.
Yeah.
Where she'll say, hey, you weren't here all day and I didn't see you on the weekend, and what's going on? So there is times when she says, hey, we need to be together. What's going on?
Definitely. What's one skill from your book that you will say is the most valuable and important one in order to have e-commerce businesses or brands?
The service. Okay. So the first of the 6 soft skills that I said you need in the age of AI, the first of the 6 soft skills is the creating legendary customer service. Okay. And as I explained to you, that's your family, your friends, everything in your life. Yeah, you give 100% service to everybody you encounter. So over here at UCW, I speak to the cleaners every day. Every time I see them, how's your day going? What's going on? Yeah. And people look at me and they're like, well, why are you doing that almost? And I'm like, well, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Because they're people and I want to interact with them and I know where they're from and we have discussions. I'm not talking deep discussions, but we have like
you're checking in.
Friendly conversations. That's my service that I'm delivering to them. And to my students, I deliver the same service. I look at every single one of them in the eyes.
Yeah.
Every lecture, there's 35 of them, and I make sure to look at everyone and go over and like, how are you today? I know them all by name. Sometimes I forget some of the names, but I try and remember all the names. Same with e-commerce. Same with it's when you know your customer and you take the time. That's creating legendary customer service. Knowing them. Knowing what they want, what their needs are, and going that extra mile.
Yeah.
Like, we sent you the wrong ones. Keep what you got. We'll send you a new one. We don't want to send you down to the post office to say it's not going to cost us that much to keep you happy. But what it will cost us is if you leave.
Yeah.
And if you tell other people.
Lose you.
If you tell other people we're no good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super true. So, if you had the last 30 seconds for, say, what's the most important thing in soft skills and entrepreneurship? What would be? Like, if everything in your life have to be resumed in this last 30 seconds, what would you say?
Attitude. I think everything, and I'm not even sure if this would classify as a soft skill, but your attitude. Everything comes down to attitude. Are you going to get up at 4:30 and say, this is going to be the best day I've ever lived? Or are you going to get up and say, oh, it's raining outside, I'm miserable, life's not good, I'm not making enough money? Negativity breeds negativity. If you're positive and you're positive every day, life is so much better.
I see. So just simply attitude.
Yeah, attitude.
Yeah, that's great.
How you approach your life.
Yeah, that's
Doors open when you approach with a positive attitude. Doors shut when you're negative.
I see. That's great.
You control your own destiny.
What would you say to the young Andrew Woods?
What would I say to young Andrew Woods? I'd say, I was asked the other day by someone if I had any regrets. And I said, I probably have thousands of regrets, but in the big picture, I have no regrets.
I see.
So I would say, do what you did, I'm glad that young Andrew Woods didn't say, you know what, I don't want to go to Ireland. I don't want to experience something new. I don't want to go to Italy. I don't want to go to the UK. I don't want to move to China. My life completely changed by all of those moves and the people I met that are all up here, and I remember them all.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. We would love to obviously keep in touch.
Of course.
Please go and check Soft Skills in the Age of AI. Great book. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Available on Amazon.
Thank you, Andrew. How long did it take us? 1 hour?
Was it an hour? Yeah,
that was an hour, yeah. It's pretty good.
We had good chemistry going. Yeah, it was good.